Previously on RebelTaxi. Oh, and the animation director for CLAYFIGHTER was Ken Pontac, an animator who also wrote for many other things including Happy Tree Friends, Mad World, Sonic Colors, Generations, Forces, Boom Rise a Lyric, and he also wrote the lyrics to this song.
Do what you want, 'cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
That is a goddamn resume right there.
My name is Mr. Bumpy, I go bump in the night.
Hey, it's the RebelTaxi Pizza Party podcast, and I shaved my hair, so that's why this is going on. But I'm Pan Pizza. Thanks. If you remember Ace, he sewed it for me and Niska. Yeah.
Very nice.
I'm Pan Pizza. Who's the regular person that's here usually?
I'm Nolan. My glasses are fine. That's all I want to say.
And who do we got today? Who's our guest?
I'm Ken Pontac.
What have you done? Who are you?
Oh, give us to me. I basically did your childhood.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Whoa, you're Butch Hartman?
I'm sorry, what?
You're Butch Hartman?
With Butch Hartman for that tagline?
I've been doing this for quite a few years. The first thing I worked on professionally, besides some special effects like flying type and stuff like that, selling cars and stuff in the 80s, was I was the art director for The New Adventures of Gumby.
Oh, yeah.
That was quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I have not stopped since.
Mm-hmm.
You've done a lot of stop motion work. Bump in the Night, Clay Fighters you worked on, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about Bump in the Night? Because that's probably one of your more prolific shows.
Yeah, you co-created, right?
Co-created it. My favorite story to tell about that, well, there's two pieces of it. There's a lot of pieces of it. But I co-created it with my childhood buddy, David Ichioka, who at that time was named David Blyman. And we've known each other since we were 7 years old. So that's part one. Part two is when the show aired on Saturday morning, my mom called me up and she said, "Jesus, Ken, you've been drawing that thing since you were 7 years old."
Wait,
and
like
I
Mr.
said,
Bumpy? You drew him? Like forever ago?
Oh, yeah. I've always been drawing. I drew monsters forever. And so on the day of my greatest triumph, I had to twist a knife in my mom and say, "Yeah, Mom, and you told me to stop drawing monsters when I was a kid and draw something pretty like a flower or a horse. And look at me now."
Yeah.
So yeah, Bump in the Night came from the stop motion roots that David and I had started to develop in Los Angeles when we worked on a couple of projects down there.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily, well, okay, I'm backtracking some more. My history is so
Let's go in order.
that I have to edit sometimes, and I'm not sure where or where to start.
Which hospital were you born at? Let's start there.
Glendale Memorial Hospital. Yes, indeed. So basically, David and I and another guy named Kevin Mack, who was my roommate at Art Center at the time, did a short clay animation called Free Taco when we were in school. We had seen Eraserhead at the New Art Theater in Santa Monica, I believe it was. And I think we were all blazing on acid, at least Kevin and I were. And
As you do.
We can saw it again, and we went back the next week and saw it again, and then we decided we were going to make a short film that was going to show before Eraserhead. And so we did. We made a 2-minute film at school, stop motion, showed it around, showed it to everybody, showed it to Art Clokey. By showing it to Art Clokey, I became the art director for Gumby, which is a whole other chapter of my life.
Yeah.
But after David and I did that, we did another thing called The Danger Team, which was a stop motion pilot that we did for Lorimar back in the early 90s, I think it was. That went nowhere, but because we did that, we met a woman named Jenny Trias, who was the VP in charge of children's at ABC Saturday morning. And she said, "I would love for you to pitch a show." So we went in there and we pitched Bump in the Night. And She looked at Mr. Bumpy. We had a maquette. Do I have it right here? I do. Hold on a second.
Yes.
I'm going to show you this Mr. Bumpy ever sculpted.
Please.
Hold on.
It's so hard to see out of these, by the way,
You know, I forget why you're wearing that.
because it'll probably piss people off and it'll be funny.
Yes.
Frame's broken too. So
Oh.
Whenever David and I would do a pitch, we would do a puppet under glass.
Oh, yeah.
oh my word.
So, here is, I just want to put this down and not break it. The very first Mr. Bumpy ever
Wow,
sculpted.
nice.
That is beautiful. I love it.
It's still in good condition.
Yeah,
Very-
yeah. Sculpted by Josephine Hong, who is just a delightful woman who subsequently worked on CLAYFIGHTER before that.
Oh, yeah.
And was working on CLAYFIGHTER with us. She sculpted this Bump in the Night, or this Mr. Bumpy, which we showed to Jenny. We showed her another thing too. I might as well show you that too. I'm giving you the history. Let me go back into the art.
Yeah, go for it. Seriously, that statue is just like, I want it.
I know. It's like, this is so... I'm just surprised they, like, they're still in good condition, like they don't deteriorate, or as far as we know.
So we had two pitches for Jenny. We had one that we thought was the killer pitch. A friend of ours, we're in the Bay Area here, and a friend of ours knew one of the guys. Oh, shit.
No! It's just... Oh,
that
no.
sound was? That
No.
was a sound of breaking glass.
God.
Are the Marquettes okay?
Well, my kids are okay.
Okay, good.
But the glass,
Oh, no.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
not so much. That's okay.
It's just the glass case.
Yeah. So we had a friend that knew one of the guys in Metallica.
Oh,
And so we came up with this idea for these rock and roll robots and we were going to call them Metallic Kids.
Ah, yeah.
We had this maquette made. And this is pretty badass.
Damn.
Right?
what's it made out of?
It's made out
Okay.
of, I think, Super Sculpey and wire and stuff. I mean, it is breakable. Some of my maquettes, we had Norm DiCarlo,
Mm-hmm.
who we've known since Gumby. He was the art director on Bump in the Night. Norm liked to sculpt stuff out of Propoxy, which is like this plumber's stuff. I mean, it's like you can pound nails with it when it's done. So some of my maquettes are indestructible and would stop a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's test that.
Yeah, let's not. So yeah, we thought this was be the winner, right? And we just thought this is great. But she looked at this and she went, "Yeah, that's cool," and she put it off to the side.
Okay.
And she went, "But I really like that. The one I showed you before."
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking about cleaning up that glass later, and all the Happy Tree Friends scenarios that I'm going to hopefully avoid.
Oh, man.
That was another
and-
one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Happy Tree Friends. That was great.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so we showed, Jenny looked at Mr. Bumpy and she said, "But I love that." And she said, "Have your people talk to my people. I want to do this show with you. Let's do this." And just like that, in a second, we had sold it in the room.
Damn.
Which, that doesn't happen, right? Young, naive us thought that we had sold it merely on the merits of the quality of the concept and the puppet, that was important. But what we really sold it on was the fact that Jenny had a dictate from her bosses that they wanted to no longer just license material, which means they basically leased Mr. Bumpy from us, but we got him back at the end and retained all the rights and the ownership. But they wanted to own the property.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much, in order to get our start in television, David and I sold our baby to ABC. And that was fine. I'm happy to make that deal because, here we are now, right? But that was really what sold it. They wanted something that they could own and something that looked different than anything else. And that was Bump in the Night and also Reboot. And we were back to back in that day. And the Reboot guys are great. I went on to meet them, and I've worked with them on other projects, mainframe projects in the past.
Yeah.
And so we did Bump in the Night for 2 seasons and a Christmas special. We actually had a deal for 3 seasons, but Disney purchased ABC, and that pretty much was the asteroid hitting Planet Bumpy and killing all the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I heard about that. The whole ABC
it seems
buyout.
a lot of shows seem to get like shit canned because of network bureaucracy and buyouts and stuff. It's happening right now with AT&T and Cartoon Network. I think a lot of shows are getting axed. It's very unfortunate.
It is. I've experienced that through my entire career. That was never again with my show. Never again, so immediately where the suits get off the plane and tell everybody to pack up their shit and they change the locks on the door and that's that. It was really harsh. But that sort of thing has affected me throughout my career. Some project I may have been percolating with some executive for months, and then there's a shakeup, the executive gets fired, ownership changes, and that project doesn't exist anymore. That's old news. So, it's part of the deal.
Yeah.
Damn. But first, this podcast is supported by $100 donators on Patreon who like to promote Magical Heroines, a webcomic on tapas.com. Whether you love or hate anime, it's about a middle schooler forced to join a magical girl gang and beat the shit out of people because she was told to. It's Magical Heroines. Rated on the links below at tapas.com. Our next donator is by Idealix with their own webcomic, Loose Cannon. It's about a young bounty hunter girl in the Old West and ends up on the wrong side of the law. Links to that below on Webtoon. Our next sponsor is CK Draws, who wants you to check out his Patreon or Twitter commissions. He draws pinups. CK also has the 2000s art style to his work, and also asses. He draws a lot of asses. It's NSFW. Our next sponsor is RedHuntingCap, an alt indie band from the Bronx, New York. Follow their Bandcamp and YouTube. What was the challenges with making a stop motion TV show like every week? Because watching it now, like I can see like a lot of like ways like cut around the budget, like the karaoke segment and all the close-ups to their faces.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, all that stuff was, we did everything we could to stretch our dollar. It was not a cheap show to make, and I think every dollar was on the screen. But when push came to shove, there just weren't enough dollars to do all new animation all the time. I mean, there generally isn't, most animation uses stock, especially back then. Now with CG, it's a little different, although there's CG stock too, I'm sure, with walks and reactions and stuff like that. You put it in different backgrounds, tweak it. But I'd say one of the biggest problems, this is at the very beginning of computer technology. We actually started shooting on film and we quickly switched to Avid. So that was a huge time saver. There were no frame grabbers really back in the day. You guys know what frame grabbers are?
What's that?
Okay, so back in the old days, if you were doing stop motion, you had no idea what you just did. You'd have the puppet and you move it a little bit, and then the way you would keep track of shit was with surface gauges. These physical metal gauges that had little points on them where, okay, this is where the puppet's head was on the last frame. Now I moved it over here. And then you would move the puppet's head to where it should be. You'd hopefully remove your surface gauge, take the frame, and then your puppet's head's over here. You'd put the surface gauge here and move the puppet's head over there, remove the surface gauge, and then you get a movement like that.
My God.
Oh, yeah. That's why I could never be an animator, especially back then. The first time I would move a puppet, I would just get all hot and dizzy. Like, what did I do? Which way does it go? It's a special talent. But we thought that it would be really handy to have a machine where you could actually you could play back 1 or 2 frames of where you were. And I love this part of the story. So when David and I were in high school, we pretty much we ran the yearbook and we ran the newspaper and all that art geek stuff. And we were talking to all of our friends on the school newspaper. He was the editor-in-chief. I was a feature editor. And we said to them, one of these days, we're going to have some kind of a scene. And we don't know what it's going to be. It might be a magazine or a TV show or a movie, but we're going to hire all you guys. And they're all like, yeah, pull the other one. So I don't know what it was, 20 years later, 15, 20 years later, whatever it was, we get this show. And we kept in touch with some of our friends because I think that's like the secret to everything is staying in touch with your friends. So one of our friends, this guy named Alex Hansen, worked on Star Wars. And not the Lucas feature film, but like the strategic, air command missile top secret stuff. He's like a rocket scientist. Literally, he's a rocket scientist.
Wait, that thing Reagan made?
Yeah. He worked on that thing Reagan made.
Oh,
holy shit.
Yeah, he's like really smart. And so he had just been laid off and was wondering what was going to happen next. I think he was in San Diego at the time. His phone rings and it's me and Dave calling from the Bay Area saying, "What you doing?" He said, "Not much these days. Hey, you want to come over here and work on a TV show and make a thing that's never been made?" Sure. And so he came over and he made this frame grabber. And I just felt great that the promise we made in high school was at least one guy got to actually see it come true.
Damn.
So anyway, that is one of the hard things especially back then about doing animation is just knowing where your puppet was. Gravity with stop motion, especially back then when it was harder to erase rigging and stuff. If you're flying a puppet now, it's a lot easier to erase it digitally. Back then, not so much. So gravity was a big problem.
I got a question, Mr. Bumpy's eyes. I feel like that would weigh down the whole character. How big of an issue was his eyes?
His eyes were fine. The only time that they got heavy is if we were doing a replacement where he had they got really big for a take, the big eyes. And some of those but I mean they're hollow, so it's not that big a deal. But you get cantilevered and weight starts to pull you forward. But not as big of a problem as other problems.
When designing characters for stop motion, did you have to take the weight into account and the gravity, the center of gravity of the character models?
Yeah, much more than Tim Burton ever did. Tim Burton never seemed to give a shit about that. It's oh, God, these tiny feet and these big bodies, what a nightmare. But Tim Burton gets what he wants,
and then makes Henry Selick do all the work.
Yeah,
and makes Selick do all the work. Yeah, it's funny because Henry and us we were kind of rivals. I mean, he poached a few of our animators, and we weren't really crazy about the guy. And it was funny because we were at a funeral for one of our animators, Ken Willard, who just died tragically. And I remember Henry saying to us at that funeral, "The only time I seem to see you guys is at weddings and funerals," which was true at the time. But then he became part of this circle of friends, and now when I see him, it's I don't see him anymore because of fucking COVID. But now when I would see him, it would be at this great dinner, and he would sit at the piano and play music by ear, and we'd sing, Beatles songs and stuff. Hey, the meeting's been upgraded by the host. Wow, we have unlimited minutes.
Finally, yes.
Right.
Yay.
I bet Henry Selick doesn't have unlimited minutes. Take that.
Woo.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? It's great. It's great when people that you never really knew, but you sort of had an axe to grind with become people that you like.
Yeah, I think it's very important for the audience to know that. About the broken glass conversation. As
a matter of fact, I'm gonna take this computer way down here.
Oh yeah.
This is some nicely. This is well broken glass.
Damn. Do you got more of those, or do they still make that brand?
I don't know. I got a couple of other puppets in storage that have bell jars on them.
Mm-hmm.
That otherwise he won't have a bell jar.
Damn.
A lot of my puppets don't have bell jars. As a matter of fact, if we go through the exercise machine, you can see some of the puppets are under glass and some of them aren't. Can you see what's going on here?
I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, how do you manage to keep maintenance on those? Do you just dust them? Is there a certain kind of like a chemical or appliance you have to put on them to keep them from deteriorating? Or
Speaking of deteriorating, hold on a second. Oh wait, I've got to move this one. Hopefully nothing else will break.
Hopefully.
I'm just watching, like, with bated breath, just like I feel a shiver up my spine, hoping nothing breaks. You got so much. Oh no!
Oh man!
See Mr. Bumpy's feet?
Oh,
No.
That's what happens. That's what happens to animation puppets after a period of time has passed. They turn into that.
Pan a little up. Oh man! Yeah. Oh man!
This is my oldest puppet. This wizard is actually from Gumby.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Hold it a little lower. There.
It's
Yeah.
that-
Now
oh
we can
my.
see it. Yeah.
I don't recognize that guy. That don't look
man.
like he's out of Gumby.
Yeah.
He looks like a Harryhausen looking dude.
Yeah. Well, Art Cloakey and I had a different aesthetics, and we fucking hated each other.
Oh. Oh no! What happened?
Yeah. But he got my career started, and I helped him get Gumby going for another round during the 80s, and so we got what we needed out of each other, and that was that.
Oh man!
I get you. Very, very businessy relationship.
It started out very friendly. Like I said, after we did that not closed Mondays. That's Will Vinton's. After we did Free Taco, which was a 2-minute film that David and I did at Art Center, because we made that film, we met Art Cloakey, and we hung out with him. He came to Art Center and lectured, and he ended up doing a show at the New Art Theater, as a matter of fact, the very place where we conceived of Free Taco. He ended up doing a Gumby revival show that became kind of the catalyst for getting the right person to see that who happened to be at a studio, who said we should make the new series, and it kind of steamrolled into that. And at some point, that friendship turned into the opposite of friendship. And but I guess I was perceived as a necessary evil, and I decided I was going to see this thing to the end because I knew it was the beginning of my career. And any bad feelings that I have about art and the things that happened back then are really just sort of these stories that I tell. And what I really take away from that is all the great things that happened because of that association. The people I meet, the start of my career. So many careers got started at Gumby. It's just phenomenal. If you look at the credits of who was animating, Tim Hiddle, one of the best animators I know of. He did J. Clay. He's worked at Pixar and other places. He's worked with David and I. Mike Belzer and Eric Layton and Karen Kaiser, all these people that worked at subsequently all the big shops in the Bay Area. And then, some of them moved over to Vinton. A lot of careers got started with Gumby, and it was great.
Yeah. Because
Good.
how prominent was like stop motion TV at the time?
I don't think there was another stop motion TV show on at that time. It was a pretty weird animal. Stop motion didn't really hit a heyday until, as far as I can remember, until after Gumby, and then Henry started doing those MTV shorts. And as a matter of fact, Eric Layton and I think Mike Belzer, a couple of the other animators from Gumby, were kind of moonlighting doing those. And so Henry was kind of putting his scene together, and then some other places started doing it. So the Bay Area became, in the 80s and 90s, became a real hub of stop motion. And now that's kind of moving over to Portland. Vinton had been there the whole time.
Yeah.
I think he was there when we were doing Gumby. Vinton was already in Portland.
Yeah. Did you work on the movie?
The Gumby movie?
Yeah.
No. Art had fired me by that time.
Oh, man.
Jesus.
Jeez.
Yeah. I wouldn't have wanted to work on the movie at that point.
Yeah.
Even though we were doing other things. At that point, towards the end of Gumby, David and I could see the writing on the wall, and we did this 2-minute short called The Danger Team. And we got some of the best animators from Gumby and, bought all of our own stuff because we didn't want there to be any conflict of interest of ownership or any of that kind of stuff. And set up these sets on different people's like kitchen tables, I think 3 or 4 different kitchen tables, and made this kick-ass little 2-minute film. And the film was so good that the people who were working on Gumby at the time, the post-production houses, the sound effects places, and the film finishing places, they all agreed to finish the film for us for free. I mean, we got literally tens of thousands of dollars worth of services from these guys for free, with the understanding that if we were to sell this thing and turn it into a TV series, and if it was within our power to do so, because they'd been around the block, they knew that we weren't necessarily going to be able to call any shots, that they would work on the thing. And sure enough, we did take it into Hollywood, and one thing led to another. Some interesting stories there. Mm-hmm. And we ended up using some of the people, Wavefront Sound, who did the sound for Gumby, and they did this bang-up job on The Danger Team, and subsequently we built a studio for them in our soundstage in Brisbane. We were shooting Bump in the Night, so we actually had a full functioning soundstage inside of our shooting stage, and I used to love to go in there because David and I would go in there, and the door would be closed, and nobody was allowed to knock. You don't knock on those doors, right? Nobody was allowed to knock or bother us, and we'd go in there, and we could just focus on one thing. And doing the post-production sound is like really fun. It's like, oh, make that fart longer,
Yeah.
What? We need the sound of broken glass. Hold on a second. Ken, go get that model.
Oh, man.
Say goodbye to the bell jar.
Say goodbye to the bell. There goes another one. Actually, Foley work is the best. We had a little bit of Foley stuff there, but we didn't have like a full Foley stage because
I love Foley work.
It's the best. It's the best. But what would happen is that we'd finish our session and we'd open the door and we would be in the middle of the shooting stage where all the animators were. And it was like a bunch of baby birds just going, me, 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 me. Immediately be like, hey, Ken, can you come look at this? David, look over here. I need you over here. And just instantly there would be like, they would just descend on us like a pack of baby birds who needed to be fed. And, all that chill, this is really great, linear, let's make a sound effect. I don't have to think about anything else. They just went away and we were back into production again.
Damn. Sounds so stressful.
Yeah.
Overwhelming, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good stress, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
the type where you're like in the zone and like you're ready to solve some problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a funny story about that. When I was directing at Vinton's, we had all the directors had walkie-talkies, and everybody had a handle. Mine was Poo-Poo platter, because I really loved Poo-Poo platters, and there was a place we'd go, but it turns out that always got shortened to Poo-Poo, so that was my name.
Good enough.
My wife was visiting me, and I was in my office, and my phone rang at the same time that an animator came to the door saying, Ken, I need you. At the same time that my walkie-talkie went off saying, Poo-Poo, we need you on the stage. And we just looked at each other and started cracking up because that was my life. That's the life of a director on a set like that.
Yeah. What was this for? For Will Vinton, or what was it?
Mike,
For what?
Vinton did a show called Gary and Mike. It was on
I think
it's UPN, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, Gary and Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really fun show to work on. Really fun because it was adult animation, and my first show was about Mike hiring a hooker in Vegas to get Gary laid for the first time.
Hell yeah.
How
As
could
you do.
make a show like that?
Damn yeah.
Yeah, no, I love buddy comedies like that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily strictly buddy comedy, but same vein. But on the subject of that, was Gary and Mike one of your favorites to work on? Probably generic question, but like, what are some of your favorite projects you've been on? Any fun stories in particular, stuff like that?
Oh, well, there's fun stories with every project.
Of course.
Where I actually have to leave my house. There's some funny stories about projects I've just done at home, but Gary and Mike, that had some good stuff. Being in Portland for a year was really fun. But I would say my favorite show to work on was Bump in the Night because I've been drawing that since I was 7 years old.
Of course.
After that, it has to be Happy Tree Friends.
Oh yeah.
Happy Tree Friends is the best writer's room I've ever been in. And as a matter of fact, I have to send you the link to something that's on YouTube. It's a 5-minute clip from a story meeting that I am so glad I recorded. I went like that because the camera was up there, where we were breaking a Buddhist monkey story. And I pitched the idea of, what if he was nudist monkey?
Uh-oh.
And it's funny because when you said, uh-oh, the beginning of the clip, I got to plug in this computer. The beginning of the clip is me saying, okay, this is kind of off track, but I have an idea, and somebody else went, uh-oh. So, you're right there in the room with us. So basically it's us cracking up for 5 minutes, doing nothing but laughing, trying to pitch a few gags between gas. It's the best. So please remind me to send you the link to that because your listeners or viewers or whatever might enjoy seeing it.
Okay, I'll just put a note here, monkey clip.
On the subject of Happy Tree Friends, since it was a very violent show, was there ever any ideas that were left on the cutting room floor, or ideas that just went way too far that you couldn't do?
No violence was too much for us to do. Pop and Cub, we're killing babies.
Yeah, true enough.
There were certain things that we wouldn't do. We had a few rules. Number one, of course, no talking. That would completely jump the shark.
Were you there from the beginning of Happy Tree Friends, or when?
Was I?
Yeah.
No. Here. Okay. We'll swing back to the answer to this question, but we might as well start at the beginning. When I found out about Happy Tree Friends, they already had 2 DVD compilations.
I had one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I found out about it was the way most people find out about it is somebody sends them a link and says, dude, you got to check this out. So I checked it out, and as most people do, I said, what the fuck? And I just everyone I could see. And then I stumbled on one of the DVDs and bought it, because that's what you did back then. You bought DVDs. And I looked at the back and I saw that they were in San Francisco, and I'm right here in Sausalito. And so I wrote them a letter, an email actually, and I said, hey, my name's Ken Pontac. I've worked on this and this and this. I think you guys rock. I would love to meet you. And they wrote back and said, dude, you worked on that and that and that. We think you rock. Let's meet. And just like that, we had lunch. And I remember before we even got out of the car, I met him at the studio and we drove to some restaurant. Before we got out of the car, we were laughing so hard that that we were just in tears.
Mm-hmm.
And oddly enough, I didn't end up writing for the show for another year or two after that.
That's great. So you guys just hung out, and then like a year or two later, it all got finalized and sorted out, and was like,
Waiting for an open spot.
Yeah, pretty much waiting until the time was right. You know, they were staffed, they were crewed up. I was working on a bunch of other things. What I try not to do at this stage of my career when I meet, and one of the great things is, at this stage of my career is that my heroes become my peers and then my friends and sometimes my coworkers. But kind of in that order. First, they're my heroes, and then they're my peers, which means that I feel comfortable approaching them, although anybody should feel comfortable approaching anybody. I lecture to high schools all the time, and I tell them, get in touch with your heroes. I also tell them, get in touch with your heroes, but don't stalk their ass.
Oh, no.
yeah.
Know the difference. Don't get in touch with your heroes. But once I get in touch with them, the next thing I do is not to say, hey, let's work together. We bat it back and forth. Maybe we meet. And then at some point, it seems right for one of us to say, hey, I've got a project. Do you want to work on it? And with these guys, I almost worked with them when they almost sold a show to MTV. And they were freaking out because they had never done series before. And all of a sudden, somebody wanted to turn their 2-minute thing into this series. And so I came on. I got paid to basically consult for a couple of weeks about what that might be, but that never happened, so that went away. And then I don't even remember what happened, but they said, hey, you know what? We'd love you to come into the room and pitch stories with us. I said, that sounds great. And the very first one I wrote was it's right here. It's Out on a Limb. The one where spoiler alert, Lumpy cuts off his leg.
Mm-hmm.
Because the guy who that was based on, what was it, 48 hours or whatever?
Oh yeah, the 120. Yeah. He
had cut off his leg and all that stuff, or arm, a while earlier, but now he was on his book tour. He had his book out, and so I saw him on some talk show, and I thought, that's funny. We could do a show based on that.
Oh.
And that I pitched it, and it turned out to be one of the best ones. It's got more hits than most of them.
Oh man, yeah. This was before the movie, right? So it's like, I don't know.
I just like how you said I saw him on book tour, and your first thought was that's funny.
That's a good idea.
That's a great.
His
idea.
real life suffering would be a good episode.
Real life suffering.
Hell yeah. We turn our lemons into lemonade, unless like in Ice Cold Lemonade, we turn our eyes into lemonade.
Oh man, that was like one of the first ones I ever saw. That I have a big thing with like eyes. I don't like touching them, nothing. So just seeing like them struggling to cut the eyeball, like there was like resistance. It's just hated it.
Oh yeah.
So fuck you guys for that one.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Speaking of eyes, we had one, I forget what it was called, but Disco Bear goes into a barber shop, and I forget, it was either Lumpy is an idiot and shaves and bald, or Mole is blind and shaves and bald. Anyway, he leaves and he's bald. He's all bummed out about that. Buys some cut rate hair tonic from Lifty and Shifty in a back alley, dunks his whole face in it. And we knew that funny shit was going to happen, but it was like 6 o'clock or whatever, and it was time for us to go home, so we went home. But my brain is still, it never stops. Happy Tree Friends, it's like a curse, man. Everything around you just think about how can that hurt you, which actually probably keeps you safe. But I had this dream, and in the dream, I was looking at my own eye. So it's like the point of view was a close-up on an eye, like in the mirror, but also I was, from the mirror's point of view, like seeing me. It was like that dream thing where you're both angles.
Third person.
Yeah, it's like a whole third person thing. And so it's close up on an eye, and one hair grows out of the eye. And then a pair of tweezers comes in and starts to pull, and the eye like does that dimple out thing, and then it goes poink, and then the dimple collapses into a red crater. And that was in my dream. And I woke up going, Jesus Christ.
No.
And I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget it. And the next morning, having forgotten it, I looked at my computer and went, Jesus Christ. And
That's a weird
one of the
dream.
No.
gags I ever did.
Awful. It's the worst. I don't like
I
that.
show it to high school kids. I love, because they say, where do you get your ideas from? And I tell them
Dreams.
that.
And-
Place.
That's like a straight horror thing. Like you could
Totally.
you could take that shit to a film school and have like a film teacher like reeling their brain over it for hours.
I had another nightmare that I turned into
Okay.
bit on the bump on the night episode, actually.
All right. Yeah.
Oh joy.
One where Molly, her parts start getting. She loses an arm and she gets like this gorilla toy arm.
Yeah.
And she loses different parts, and she finally ends up having like this.
Yeah. Monster
this
head.
staple remover. Yeah, the staple remover head.
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
And that yeah.
And so there was a bit. It was written by M.K. Brown, who was this genius, wonderful woman. She was a cartoonist in National Lampoon way back in the day. She is like, you wanted to hear a story. She's got the stories. But I said, okay, MK, we got to have this one gag in here. Because I had this dream where I was being chased by zombies. I have that dream a lot. But in this particular dream, I was on a bridge. And wait a second, broken glass on the floor. And
Careful.
so in the dream, I'm being assailed by all these zombies, but in the front is like this hideous old hag zombie, and she's like, ah! And so I materialize this sword out of my hand. I love it too, just like the sword just grew out of my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I snatch her head off. Boom. Her head tumbles down to the ground, but then she picks it up and she holds it out to me, and it's like still going, ah! And I said, we got to do that gag in this Bump of the Night. So that Molly does that. She goes, I want your head, Mr. Bumpy. And she's holding her own horrible head. That was the only show we ever got hate mail for.
Oh.
Somebody in the Midwest quoted that show and said, this is inappropriate for children. You should be taken off the air.
Oh,
I
man.
was happy.
Damn. A
I would
pre-Twitter
be
world.
too. And actually, I remember it got a resurgence recently when a bunch of big old YouTubers were talking about their childhood fears a few years back, and that one specific episode popped up on a couple lists people had. So to this day, still traumatized kids. So
You have no idea. That's probably the greatest thing you're going to hear today.
yeah, a lot. It still affected them all these years later. They're like, that fucking episode scared the shit out of me.
I know. If
It's so
they had
good.
all been like that, we wouldn't be the warmly remembered cult classic that we are today.
Yeah. Damn.
Oh, very good.
Speaking of like dark humor, do you remember working on this video game called Mad World?
Oh God, yeah. I probably shouldn't. I made it a point to be completely drunk out of my brain every time I wrote for it.
Like, did you write the announcer voices?
What's that? Yeah. Me and Warren Graff from Happy Tree Friends wrote the announcer voices. That was our first job for SEGA.
And definitely not the last.
Definitely not the last. For sure. It was the raunchiest. Yeah, we got the gig. Well, I got the gig first, and then I was told by the producer that there was another writer who they wanted a writing team, and they had this writer in LA. And I said, okay, well, wait a second, is he like sign on? I said, well, no. And I said, good. Because I've got a writer I would really like to work with. He also worked on Happy Tree Friends, and the two of us will kill it. He said, fine. And that started Warren and my career at SEGA. And yeah, that was written with a lot of tequila on board and blasting The Offspring. I only listened to Offspring during the whole time. Because didn't they do the music for Crazy Taxi?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had played a lot of Crazy Taxi in Portland when we were doing Gary and Mike, and I thought this would be a good soundtrack to write the raunchiest shit that I'll ever play in my life.
Yeah. I mean, the soundtrack Mad World ended up with is really awesome. I love that. But it doesn't sound anything like Offspring.
No.
Did your work on Mad World help you get on board with Sonic, or was that a different thing altogether?
Well, it helped in that it was the same producer who, Patrick Riley, was the producer on that. And he was happy with the work we had done on Mad World, and happy with just the way that Warren and I worked in general. You know, we weren't fuck-ups. We got our stuff done on time. We if there was a problem, we would make sure that it got taken care of and everybody was happy. You know, the kinds of things that producers like. And so when Sonic came up, they had kind of a bake sale for it. You know, different writers were given the opportunity to basically write a short sequence. And we wrote some bit with Eggman and the two robots, just some comedy bit.
Orbot and Cubot.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, back then, I didn't even know that there was an Orbot and a Cubot. I guess they had existed before.
Oh no, they're new characters.
They were new characters at the time. Yeah. You're gonna have to bear with me. I'm like a huge Sonic fan, so this is gonna be completely insufferable for everyone.
Okay. And now, as you well know, then I have a checkered history with Sonic fandom.
Of course. Who hasn't worked on Sonic that has a checkered history with them? But
this is what I found out when I made the internets explode from my little faux pas. When I went to the principal's office and was told, yeah, this happens to all of us. Just don't talk to those guys. You know, that's the best. Don't engage.
Oh, Jesus.
You know, I love my fans. Like all of them. Except for the ones that just hate me for dumb reasons.
Existing.
They hate me for existing, and they want my dog to be dead, and you know, they don't understand how the world works, how things work, and it's just kind of childish, and it's unfortunate because whatever vocal, I don't know if it's a vocal minority, a vocal majority, how many it is, but whatever vocal group is behind all of that, they definitely screwed it for any Sonic fans who wanted me to do a Sonic panel at any cons that I have ever gone to subsequently or in the future.
Well,
and I won't
completely understandable. Yeah. If it's any consolation, the whole fandom has self-cannibalized itself, so you know you're not alone in that.
Yeah. And if you, I don't know, I feel like if you do end up doing a panel, I feel like honestly, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who would actually like be nice and not be terrible.
Yeah, societal convention has taught me many things, that a lot of people like to talk, but when it comes to walking the walk, they trip and fall face first and break all their teeth. So,
yeah. You know. I mean, all this screed is coming from mommy's basement, basically.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great run, and you know, there were a couple of trips to Japan. Oh my God, the trips to Japan! There is nothing like going to Japan with a producer who speaks Japanese, loves to eat, knows all the places to eat, and has a SEGA credit card.
Oh my God, please stop talking.
Hell yeah.
How much takoyaki did you eat? Because I love that shit so much.
What is that?
It's fried octopus dumplings.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
ramen.
I don't know how, but I know I had some. I eat most of the things. I wouldn't eat chicken tartare because homie don't play that. And I won't eat whale. I could have eaten whale in Iceland too, but I won't eat whale.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nuke the whales.
I'll nuke them. Fuck those whales. I just want to eat them.
What they done for me.
Reminds me of the Eric Andre skit. Want to sign our petition? We're going to kill all the whales. Yeah, we're just going to go kill all the whales.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, oh God, having infinite money and visiting all the food places in Japan, honestly, like, goals. The dream is just to go to a foreign country and eat all their shit and leave.
Oh my God. It was amazing because we went places that no tourist would go to. I remember, okay, so I had a birthday party on Sunday in the Bay Area, and at 3 o'clock before the birthday party, my tooth exploded, and I had to call up my dentist and have an emergency root canal.
Oh,
because I had to get on a plane on Monday morning and then have to have a root canal in Japan. And I knew that, like, just the pressure on the plane and the no way. So then I was singing karaoke that night through a mouthful of bloody cotton and not able to drink because I was now on antibiotics. And that was crippling. It was my birthday party. We had karaoke. I was on pain medication, so I had, I had a good buzz on, but I didn't have my karaoke alcohol buzz on. Mm-hmm. So I'm on the plane, and we go to Japan, and I can't drink. This was the second time. I can't drink, but Yaz took us to this place in what's the city that's like Blade Runner? I mean, they're all fucking Blade Runner, but this one, basically he took us to Blade Runner, and we had this amazing meal in this abandoned subway tunnel. All the walls were curved. We're eating like this weird stuff.
Oh, man.
He goes, okay, we're going to go to this bar I love. And so the neon's reflected in the puddles. And it is just so moody and perfect. We go into this bar, and it's just all polished wood and gleaming chrome. And we're the only people in there except for this really interesting looking couple at the bar. We sit at this table, and I say to myself, I'm going to have a fucking drink. Because Yaz said, the whiskey here is unbelievable. And I get this glass of whiskey, and it has this ice cube in it, this blue ice cube that must have been just hacked out of a glacier. It was just the most perfect thing. And at that point, I just said, yeah, I'm drinking here in Japan again. And that was that.
Damn, they gave you an Energon cube. Hell yeah.
I guess he did.
God, I don't know where this place is, but I want to see it.
Me too. I know my friend Sydney does a lot of travel vlogs about all these weird bars in Japan, like how they opened their first porn bar. So that shit's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a place worth going back to, as is Iceland. Iceland, where I worked.
Gorgeous.
That was a magical place.
Yeah, the black beaches look. I really love to go there.
That's why they shoot all, so many weird movies there, because it looks like another planet.
Damn, that sounds so cool. But we haven't talked about Clay Fighter. How'd you get involved with that?
So Clay Fighter, I'm just trying to figure out the chronology here. A couple of animators from Gumby worked with Visual Concepts on a game called Claymates.
Yeah.
And that's the first digitized clay figures that I think had existed.
It turns out there's one more, but something before that came out. I forget the name, but yeah, go on. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was one of the early ones for sure. And the sprites looked like shit. They shot them, and they were just a few. There weren't enough pixels to really model. But some of the bosses looked pretty cool. I think that's what the deal was.
Mm-hmm.
And so they decided that they wanted to do another clay video game called Harley's Humongous Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And Owen and Angie they were going off to work on, I think, maybe one of Henry's projects even. And David and I didn't have anything to do at the time. And so we said, sure, let's do this thing. And so we did this Harley game, and our bosses were even bigger. And they were pretty crazy looking. As a matter of fact, hold on a second. Oh, let's see. I just got to look at my rippling torso.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man.
If it's any consolation, it was absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. I did suck in the gut. So here we are. These are like some of the bosses, some of the characters that we were doing, like this a puffer character, and here we are. Like, it's kind of hard to see some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Make sure you got him on focus pan, by the way.
Oh yeah. Well,
since you're recording on your
I mean,
end.
Zoom's kind of like pixely in general, but yeah.
So we had like,
Ooh, yeah.
big weird characters, big simple weird characters that the light could wrap around, and they looked pretty good. I mean, some of those bosses really came out great, and so then that was almost like a proof of concept game, and then they said, yeah, you know what? I think that we can do Clay Fighter, and I'm not sure who had the idea for Clay Fighter, if it was Visual Concepts pitched it to Interplay or Interplay pitched it to Visual Concepts. I might have known once, but I don't remember anymore. But they asked David and I if we wanted to do that. We said sure. And I remember I had not played any fighting games at that point. And they gave us a copy of Street Fighter that didn't exist in the United States. I mean, we had to sign, agreements. We wouldn't show it to anybody, and I think they even gave us like a special player to play it on, and so we started playing whatever version of Street Fighter was coming out around that.
Like ROM.
Yeah, it was, but it was really fun.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, yeah, we could do something great with clay characters, and so we basically, we based all of our moves on what Clay Fighter inspired us to do. Like Taffy was kind of based on who's the stretchy guy?
Oh yeah, Dulcim. Yeah.
And Bad Mr. Frosty was kind of Zangief, et cetera. And we just had a ball, and it turned into like a bigger deal than I thought it would. We got on covers of things, and people were talking about it. And to this day, when I go to conventions, people, they remember it. I remember a couple of years ago, I was at some convention, and some 30-year-old guy comes up to me, and he goes, "Dude, my brother and I used to fight over your shit." I said, "Yeah, best thing anybody's going to tell me today."
Damn, that's so cool. So you only worked on the first game, or?
Well, we worked on the first one. We, deeply. We did all the character design and animation. Worked with Visual Concepts, they were right down the hall from us, in this bank building. Actually, we were upstairs in this bank building in San Anselmo, and we worked very tightly on that one. By the time the second game came out, I think we were busy with something. We might have been starting up Bump in the Night. So we went to a friend of ours that we had known back in our special effects days in Hollywood named Terry O'Brien. He had a company, and we designed the characters with him and some other artists, and kind of just looked over his shoulder a little bit, but that was pretty much out of our hands. We took a finder's fee and, made sure that the characters looked the way that we hoped that they should look for the continuity of the game to go on. And then when we did the last one, the 63 and a third, we did that under the roof at Danger Productions while we were doing Bump in the Night. So in fact, while Bump in the Night was shutting down, after the show had been canceled, we still had to keep the lights going to finish working on Clay Fighter. And also some other game. What was that game that had like little cavemen were running around screaming, and they were being killed by these big monsters?
It was on like Super Nintendo, I think.
It was like another fighting game. It was like, big monsters.
Oh, Primal Rage.
Primal Rage, yeah, we did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Too.
Damn it! Yeah, I love Primal Rage.
Yeah. The exploding heart meter. It's like
yeah, all the piss. You can shit on people. Good stuff.
Gruesome.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot to do with that one. That was kind of done under our roof, but there was another producer that was more involved with that. But it was all kind of happening, and we were all breathing each other's farts, basically.
Oh no. Yeah. Clay Fighter. Like, I feel like Clay Fighter now would work better because back then you could only store so much stuff into those cartridges, and I know a lot of animation frames had to be cut out and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, when we, especially on 33 and a third, or 63 and a third, I should say, right?
Yeah.
When we delivered our assets, for whatever reason, they said, okay, thanks, bye. And they didn't work with our animators to help sequence the assets in the best possible way. And, you know, they have a lot of guys there that know a lot of things, but we had the guys who actually shot the frames and knew how they should work together. And I thought that they were missing a trick. And I think if they had used that asset, the asset of us, to help with the sequencing, the animation would have looked better.
Yeah. Because the 64 game is incredibly choppy, but I heard that somebody still has like the actual masters where all the full resolution images and everything saved somewhere.
Oh, they were gorgeous. I mean, they were.
I can imagine.
Photographic. They looked amazing.
Yeah, with HD video nowadays, like that game would look way better now.
Not only that, but 3D scanning too. Like,
yeah, that would be a hell of a re-release if somebody had those original materials.
Yeah.
Because, well, I mean, there were a couple of characters I don't think ever even got released.
Oh yeah.
Like
Hobocop.
Hobocop. Yeah. You know what's funny is they had that Asian character, Kung Pao.
Yeah, like
So offensive.
Yeah.
At the time and still. It's like I had nothing to do with that.
No.
And I against it, and I just went, do you guys not see what this is? I mean, holy shit, pick any other ethnic group and do the most stereotype. I'm not going to say it here and go on record, but you can imagine the things that people could do that would be equally offensive. It would be equally offensive because it was fucking offensive.
God.
And making fun of the homeless is also bad, but at least the homeless is not a particular ethnicity, and you can't choose whether or not you can be homeless, but you can choose to be homeless at least. And I mean, I'm not saying that I would do Hobocop now, but if you had to choose between one or the other and which one is more offensive, Kung Pao by a million.
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with Clay Fighter, so I had to look up what you mean, and I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah. No, that's gonna be a yikes for
no
me, sir.
MSG.
Oh my fucking god! Yeah.
Look, you ever see? Yeah, I don't know. I was looking at a lot of 2000s cartoons, and seems like a lot of Asian stereotypes were pretty normalized. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of the show called Chopsaki Chooks.
Yeah, that rings a bell. I never saw it, but the name rings a bell.
Yeah. It's a little.
Yeah.
It's like,
holy shit. I mean, really, honestly, if you look at the quarter of the stuff I wrote for Mad World, I wouldn't write that stuff again.
Oh yeah.
I'm a bit more woke now.
Oh
no. I apologize to any of my friends that might hear that, or even my enemies. Well, actually, fuck my enemies. You should die.
Oh no. Screw you, Henry Selick.
People who are strangers, and not yet my enemies who are offended by that, because that is not my goal. My goal is not to offend.
Yeah. It was a different time.
My goal is to offend assholes.
Oh yeah. Those announcers were assholes. Yeah.
Well, the actors are great. Oh my god.
Yeah, John DiMaggio and I forget the comedian's name. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. But he's great and he's famous, and I shouldn't forget his name. He did Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah. Colin Mockery, Wayne Brady.
He was in Star Wars as episode 1 as one of the announcers. I forget his name.
Why don't we have Google? God damn it! Why don't we just look this up?
Really. But they both knocked it out of the park. I mean, they were perfect. That announcer,
Greg Proops.
Yeah, Greg Proops. He's amazing. And that's one of those things that kind of like You Were a Pirate became bigger than me, bigger than its creator.
You wrote it, right, or co-wrote it or something?
Yeah. I wrote the majority of it, and then I think Mountie might have written the somebody else wrote the part where Stephanie is on the island going, doing her. I didn't write Stephanie's lyric. Yeah, that was great because Iceland was magical, and Mountie gave me. He was the music composer, and he gave me the scratch track that was just basically like da 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 da. It was that, and so I would just play it all the time. If I wasn't at the studio, if I was at home, just working on a script or doing whatever, I would have it playing in the background. I listened to it for hours, and at some point, this lyric just sort of crystallized in my brain, and I just said, kind of out of nowhere, "Do what you want, 'cause a pirate lives free." And I thought, that's good, and it went on from there.
Damn,
Fantastic.
Caught on with everyone else. It worked.
Holy shit! I have to say that I kind of forgot about it, and then a year or so later, I was on YouTube and I thought, I wonder how that pirate song came out. And at that point, there was one site that had just one of the posts was not an official LazyHound post. It had something like 34 million hits, and I just went, wait, what? And I started scrolling down, and there's like drunken karaoke versions, and the guy doing it as a wedding song, and all these anime mashups, and I just couldn't. I still can't. I can't.
Oh my god. Damn. Yeah. You created a meme.
I know.
Must be a powerful feeling just knowing that like your jokes spread like a virus throughout the internet landscape.
It's one of the things that we writers live for, and it's particularly gratifying because when you're in the room, even in the writers' room, we're cracking up. We don't know if it's going to be funny outside of the room. So much of it is context. You kind of had to be there sometimes to get a joke. Even worse when you're writing at home and you just do tapping stuff and you hit send and it goes out in the world. You don't know if it's funny or not.
Mm-hmm.
But so to meet my fans and to see things like that, very, very gratifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What else is there to talk about? Because I don't know.
I did want to loop back around to a Sonic one last time because I remember you mentioned like when you took your trips to Japan having to talk back and forth with SOJ. So what was the process of writing for Sonic like? Because I'm assuming it wasn't just you and Graf. You also had to like probably work with people up top since it's a brand, prestige, etc.
Yeah, so we had our American team, and we would. I'm trying to remember. Actually, I'm not. It's been a while. We would periodically have meetings with the American team just by ourselves, kind of going over lines and stuff like that, and wondering what the next assets would be because games are different than anything I've worked on. Generally, when I work on a project, that involves like, a main monster or villain, they know what the monster is going to be, what its deal is going to be, what its abilities, what it's going to look like. But a lot of times on a video game, it's sort of like, yeah, at the end, Eggman's going to have this big monster and Sonic's going to fight. It's like, well, anything else? Does it have tentacles? Is it amorphous? So a lot of times we wouldn't even know exactly what was going to happen next. So you're kind of working in pieces. When we went to Japan, both of the times we'd go to Japan was at the beginning of the process when we were working out some either story stuff or, well, yeah, it was all about working out story when we would go to Japan.
Okay.
Generally, there would be an existing story that the Japanese team already had, and we would go in there and punch it up and add things, talk about pretty much broad strokes, not a lot of specific lines, although it would get into that too. Working on Sonic was generally a big pleasure. It was not hard. It was really enjoyable. Going to Japan, how great is that? And then, just getting paid to playing another sandbox. I was stepping over my own self because as I was saying that, I was just going to say how, and you can record this if you want.
Okay.
I just feel very fortunate in the amount of people's sandboxes I've been invited to play with and in over the years. I mean, from Gumby to Sonic to Pac-Man to Crypto to just all of these, King Kong, all of these characters and stuff that people grew up with the first time, and now other people are growing up with them a second time. It's really gratifying and it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you influence like multiple generations of people. It's got to feel gratifying, definitely.
There's a whole generation now. For the past 4 or 5 years, I've been doing a ton of preschool stuff, and that just happens to be where the work has been. And so I've got a couple of things on Netflix right now, but one of them is called Starbeam, and it's this cute little superhero preschool show, little superhero girl. And I wrote a couple of them. I wrote one called Whale Tail, which is just unbelievably cute. You guys would never believe that I wrote it. But for the past, like I said, the past 3 or 4 years, I've been primarily writing that stuff. And there's going to be a whole generation of kids that are growing up now who have no idea that I worked on Mad World or Happy Tree Friends or, it's a hell of a thing.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a thing.
Your portfolio's all over the place.
It's massive too. I'm waiting for that nostalgia cycle to reach Happy Tree Friends, and maybe you guys get to work on that again or something. That'd be fun.
That would be really fun. I'm pretty sure that a lot of the old band would be very happy to get back together again and do it.
Oh man, yeah.
Start a hashtag Twitter.
Because I don't know what Mondo Media has been up to.
Yeah, I've kind of lost track with those guys. It's not the bustling hive of activity that it was. Well, it was bigger. It was really big before I got involved, and then it shrunk down several times. By the time we were doing Happy Tree Friends, the series that we did for what was it, G4?
Oh yeah, G4.
Yeah, we had shrunk the thing down. There were probably about 20 people on staff, and when I came in, they were still in this big facility. They got a bunch of investor money, and they were basically shitting in gold toilets and had a limited snack bar and stuff.
It's like that Simpsons episode where Bart becomes an online cartoon maker guy.
Yeah, was that the one with my rocket car and my solid gold house?
Basically, that one, and also there was another one where he makes cartoons of his dad and stuff, and
Angry Dad,
and Stanley was there.
Oh, that's funny. Holy shit, man! What a time to be an 8-year-old. These kids are making. These influencer kids are making so much money. Like I've got a friend who I know from in the business, and she's got a kid. I wish I could remember what his hashtag was, but I can't.
Oh man.
Yeah, bad. And he's an influencer, and he basically plays video games online and makes $8,000 a month or something.
Damn, you know Ninja?
God.
I don't know any of those. I mean, that is my world.
Yeah, Ninja's a streamer who he made like $1 million just by switching to a different service to play his games.
Now that service crashed.
Yeah, but he still made his $1 million, so good for him. I'm not mad.
I wish I was 8, except for the end of the world stuff. Except for the
no kidding.
Apocalypse and no water and food and global warming and
it's basically the movie Threads, just complete impending nuclear holocaust.
I'm glad I'm not 8.
Yeah. Oh fuck, dude. But yeah, do you have any more questions, Pan, that you had in mind? Because I only have like one more.
I don't know. I think I heard every single thing. I don't know what else to add.
I was just gonna say, was there ever like a project that you wanted to work on that never got off the ground, or a dream project? If you had unlimited resources, connections, what have you, what would you, Sir Ken Pontac the third? I'm doubting there are two before you, but I'm saying it anyway. What would you do?
I could have done Bump in the Night for the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah.
Fair.
Or I could have done, 20 seasons of that, and it would have just gotten better and better. We had a whole third season that was written, recorded, storyboarded. We had animatics and film in the can.
Oh, man.
When we got the knock on the door from the executives in the black suits telling us to leave the building. So Bump in the Night was my dream project. However, I'm working with the story editor from Bump in the Night right now, a guy named Mark Zaslov, who has been my friend from that point on. We've written on many, many things together. And he and I have got a couple of things in development that could potentially be dream projects.
Oh, that's cool.
That's exciting. That was another thing I was going to say before we head out, pitch whatever. And that sounds like a very interesting thing to.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it right now, but you guys will be the first to know when it's official.
That is cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Is there any like other physical things you want to show us on screen?
Physical things or projects that aren't under NDA or whatever that you want to let people know about?
Wow, let's see. What have I got in here that I won't break?
Oh, God. Watch out for the glass.
I have a broken mouse. Does that interest anybody?
No, I don't, but I can answer the rest of that question about Happy Tree Friends, which is the things that we wouldn't do. No violent thing was too much for us. Ken Navarro, fun fact, could not look at actual violence. Like, I wanted to do a gag with a degloved hand because I just am fascinated with degloved hands, where
like the skin.
Yeah. Basically, pulls the skin off, and then your hands over here, and then you've got the tendons stretched out, and then all the red muscle hand here. And so Ken Navarro hates seeing those things actually. As a matter of fact, like if you Google image it, he won't look. That's why the eye on Ice Cold Lemonade is so jacked up. It doesn't look anything like an eye. But Ken would not go online to look and see what half an eye looked like.
Yeah.
It looked like this weird thing. But no violence was too much. No guns, because a ballistic solution is too easy. Any fucking idiot can point a gun and shoot it, as real life has shown us all too many times. So the closest we came was Flippy did some cool stuff with some staplers when it was Flippy versus Flippy, because that way it became like a face-off kind of a thing. No drugs, although I broke that rule myself, not just personally in the studio while writing them, but I also once again had Flippy open up a medicine cabinet and like take something to calm his nerves. I mean, nobody was like hitting on big
Some
spliffs
weed.
or anything. Yeah. And no sex. The closest we came was Disco Bear being, like a horn dog, but those were our own rules. But the great thing about Happy Tree Friends is that nobody was telling us what to do. When we were doing the series with G4, they could have some notes. They had a little bit of play on what could go on their cable network because they were throwing money into it. But when it was shorts before and after G4, we put them out ourselves. We were guided only by our own moral compasses, which, like Jack Sparrow's, is broken, and only pointed us into the direction that we wanted to go. So we did. That's a dream job where you can just do whatever you think is funny, and nobody stops you.
Oh man,
That does sound like the dream. Because I always thought, how could they get away with this? But at the time, I was like a stupid kid, so you never really think about that. Oh well, it's an independent thing. You can do what you want.
Yeah, yeah. And on the flip side, you do something like preschool. I have gotten 4 pages of notes back in 6 different colors, each color being a different cog in the wheel, an educator, a couple of producers, whoever, the head writer, 3.5, 4 pages of notes back from a 1-page premise that I might have said.
My God.
Yeah, sounds painful to work on preschool shows.
It can be. It depends on who you're working with. Like, I'm working on this one right now with Zaslav, and it's a pleasure. If you're dealing with people who get the joke, it was Octonauts, Starbeam. For the most part, it's really fun. Every once in a while, you get that bad educator in there who has their own agenda, or somebody kind of high up who has a particular bone to pick or a hard-on about a certain thing that they want to have happen that just doesn't work. And I learned, after working with art, I learned that if they're sending the paycheck, you either do it, you argue, but you do what they want to do, or you don't take the check and you do something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the flip side to the dream job. That's the job.
Yeah. Is that why you left the Gumby show?
Oh, I left because Art fired me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
That is a long and amazing story. I do have actually, after saying that, I have one more thing I'll show you, which is pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's that button on your hat?
Oh, Splatoon.
Okay. It's a shame Splatoon is over forever.
Ooh.
Yo. Oh, that looks so cool.
What is this, like a pitch Bible? What is this?
No, this is like stuff that happened while we were there.
Oh man.
It's a scrapbook.
Dead Gumby, no. Oh no.
He's dead. Oh my.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Gumby?
Smushed.
No.
Fell on the floor. Now he has like a bunch of dust and hairs on him.
Well, the thing that is the dustiest is this piece of biscotti,
Oh man.
which is this is like 30 years old or
yeah.
probably not worth eating even
Oh
if
yeah.
there's nothing else to eat. We had a big tub of biscotti because there's a woman who's sadly dead now, but her name was Bonnie Tempesta, and she was the cookie queen back in those days. She was famous throughout the Bay Area for her biscotti, and she was really good friends with Norm DiCarlo, who worked in the art department, and so she would bring in these gigantic tubs of biscotti that I realized fairly quickly was like a disease vector petri dish. The animators are dirty animals, and they eat the biscotti and their fingers. Well, in the days of COVID, we understand transmission better than we did back then in a simpler time. So everybody would get sick after a while. Towards the bottom of you didn't want to eat the last third.
Yeah, I've gotten sick I remember being on a bus tour and everybody got sick after eating fondue together.
Fondue it's delicious, but group fondue is just an intrinsically incorrect idea.
Yeah.
Get a side bowl and scoop it in. God.
Yeah. Just
come on, people.
Terrible idea. Just an orgy of germs.
The only thing I can think of that would be worse would be an actual bowl of like agar, like a big dish where you're just, that's what they grow cultures in.
Oh.
That's just that gelatinous stuff that you put in petri dishes and then see,
Gotta make yogurt somehow. Yeah.
Right.
Oh man.
So yeah, that was, of all the artifacts in this room, I thought that was maybe the most relevant to show you.
Oh man, you gotta get those scanned or something. Yeah.
I know.
It would be a process.
Yeah.
Always the.
Yeah. Well, here, I'll show you another thing. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Oh gosh, this is a
Oh,
chubby
boy.
one.
There it is.
Please don't break. Careful. Careful,
Yeah.
SpongeBob. Careful, SpongeBob.
So this is a journal that it's a road trip journal that I did when I was working on Gumby. I took 2 weeks off.
Damn.
I put this on all the milk cartons. This was basically where Barton and I went everywhere we went for 2 weeks, up the California coast all the way to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually this thing became like a dowser's wand for fun. And, I take it into a restaurant and the waitress there would go, "Oh, you're doing a travel journal. Well, you should go down Road 52 for a while. And then there's a turn off. And, it's like we'd see things we would never see and meet people we would never meet." So, yeah, this journal was great.
Sounds awesome. Yeah.
And then one last bit of the journal. As you can see, I just love talking to people because normally I go out and see people out in the world and I have interactions, but you guys are like the most human interaction I've had all day.
Oh man. All day, yeah. That's not much competition.
We try, yeah.
So I had this postcard made. It says it's all like burned up and it's like this jacked up looking postcard. And it's addressed to all those art guys who wish they were here at 2700 Bridgeway, at the studio address. And it's from somewhere in paradise on the road, USA and points north. But then Barton wrote on the back, "Art department, thank God Ken pre-addressed these cards because the truck exploded and Ken's dead. I don't know if I'll make it in the fire. Too far away, Bart." And so this is what we said.
Their final words.
I'm so sorry you died. That's so unfortunate.
Damn, sucks, bro.
First time?
Yeah. Damn.
First time. Oh man, that was a. Do you have anything else you want to share or talk about before we head out? Because I can't think of anything either. Like we wrote down a Google Doc of all the questions we wanted to ask, and you pretty much got them all.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I
you want. Yeah.
The tip of the iceberg, but
Damn.
I have a million stories.
I don't know. You should just like make a Twitter or a YouTube, something public.
You should just write a book, just straight up, just write a whole book about your life. It's so interesting.
People have told me that. I'm tempted.
Yeah. Worst case scenario just winds up getting self-published on Amazon, but it's out there at least.
Yeah.
I think you could do it. You should. I genuinely think so. There have been multiple guests who act like their life is so fucking interesting, but have like spent 3 hours just whinging and lying. But yours is just like legit good, interesting stuff. So
yeah. Mine is pretty much, oh, that reminds me. And then, some other weird ass thing that happened. Oh my God, so many weird ass things. Like there's a whole chunk of the 80s I don't remember. I did not remember that I was an extra in Steve Tyler's Oh Sherry video for like a decade. And then I remembered somebody said, "Did you know that video?"
Hang on. Steven Tyler or Steve Tyler?
Here.
Is it Steve from Journey?
Oh no, I was thinking of Aerosmith. Okay, yeah, Steve Tyler.
Steve Tyler, yeah. There's this video called "Oh Sherry," and it starts out with like it's like a video and a video, and they're shooting his video, and there's all these lords and ladies, and I was an extra, a movie extra back in the '80s as one of my many weird gigs, and anytime I had a huge beard. Anytime they needed a a pirate or a hippie or a man at arms.
Are you the guy with the long hair?
I'm the guy. There's a guy in brown in the upper right hand corner. I'm in brown and white. Yeah.
We'll try to find it and edit it into this video.
Yeah, I totally didn't remember that. So yeah, there's tons of stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this was enough for now.
Yeah.
This was a fun one.
This was a delight. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and share so many different stories. Like, it was wonderful.
My pleasure. Well, if it becomes super popular, I'd come back. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We have to turn it into a drinking game next time, though.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Sure. I can bust out some vodka or something. Why not?
Sounds great. Well, speaking of drinking, I think I'm going to have a couple of shots before I start cleaning up all this glass, because I don't like to do that with a steady hand.
Okay.
All right. Sounds
nice
good.
Talking to you.
Thank you so much again. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a great, what day is today?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Have a great week.
Bye.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
No.